Pakistan Engineers Forum. Honesty, dedication, and professional excellence.
Hello guys, so this is Abdullah and one of the speakers for today. So before we start, I just wanted to give you an introduction about us. So we are an education consultancy by the name of Edvice Education. So we provide many services which includes A to Z for every student. We start with career counseling to scholarship support to university placement, visa, travel support, as well as relocation support, which includes accommodation as well. So our tagline is dream it, say it, achieve it. Students who dream it, they should say it to the right people and we help them achieve it. So normally we deal with countries worldwide, which includes USA, UK, Europe, Canada, as well as UAE as well. How could you move to the next page? Okay, so but just for today's session, what we would be focusing on is guiding your journey from application process to the admission success. So for today's session, we have three speakers. Starting with Dr. Arun Nawaz, who will be talking in Europe, which includes a fully funded. The second one would be me, myself, Abdullah. I would be talking about the self-finance undergraduate programs in the UK, as well as the self-finance master's programs. And the last speaker, ending with Mr. Amar, he would be talking about the PhD programs in the UK, as well as different scholarships which the students can opt for. So we will be starting Dr. Arun Nawaz, who will be talking about the fully funded PhD programs in Europe.
Thanks a lot, Abdullah. First and foremost, it is a good opportunity for me to interact with all the PhD aspirants who want to pursue their career, basically in Europe. So I'll be talking about a fully funded PhD opportunity that is currently open in Europe. What I'll begin with is your profile, how your profile should look in particular, the documents that are needed for you to apply for a fully funded scholarship in Europe, and also in Europe, which European countries you need to focus. So Europe basically is a big zone. It is a Schengen area. So if you get an opportunity to come to one country in Europe, you will be able to travel to other countries as well. So it is quite important for you to understand that which particular area, which particular country you are focusing or you want to focus to pursue your career or pursue your PhD in a particular field. Last and not the least, I'll be focusing on how to apply for a fully funded scholarship. So beginning with your profile, I hope all can see. In particular, if you want to apply for a fully funded PhD in any part of Europe, whether it be Germany, whether it be Italy, or you want to come to Spain, the main thing is that you need to have a good master degree. That means that you have completed the 4 years of your bachelor. After completing your bachelor, you have at least 2 years of your master's. So these are 6 years of your education after you graduate from a secondary high school. So you need to have a CGPA of 3.0 or more. Like if you have a CGPA of 2.8, that can work as well. But then you'll have to show extra work experience, internship, stuff like that. Okay, after having a good degree, the second thing that comes in mind is that you need to have certain experience in your field. For instance, if you are a material scientist, I would require you to have some internship in any particular, for instance, in any particular domains. You need to have an internship, you need to have the certificate for that internship. Or after your master's, if you have completed the degree before, like let's say a year before, and now you have a year of work experience, maybe you're doing a job in Pakistan. So you should have a certificate that shows and confirms that, okay, you have been working in that firm for that particular period of time. It should not be that you show in the CV that you have a gap. A gap in a CV is not considered good. Only it's considered good if you are able to show or demonstrate that, okay, that gap was used for something good. That gap was used to build up your profile. So that will be something that is good for applying for a particular PhD program. Lastly, for PhD applications, it is always good to have a publication. For instance, if you're doing a research-based BS program, your thesis is a research-based, you can try to ask the supervisor to go for a publication. That is same for masters as well. There's no limitations for publication paper. Like if you have 2, if you have 3, you can go ahead with 4 as well. More the publications, more are the chances of acceptance. Like this is as simple as that. One example is that in Italy. In Italy, they have the point-based system, and they have points for every single document. I'll be talking about the document in the coming slide. But for the publication, they have the specific numbers, the specific points for the publication. If you have 5 publications, you will get 5 points. If you have 4 publications, you will get 4 points. If you have 3, you will get 3 points. So that is important to consider. Another thing which I see, one thing which I see in some of the documents that I receive from students is that there is not much effort that is put into the CV. So the starting thing that considers or is a main factor in your profile is your CV. What the HR or what the supervisor will see will be your CV at first, and then the cover letter or other documents will come. So it is very important to form a good CV. And one of the main websites where you can form a good CV is Europass. So I've given the link here. And I would want the students who want to pursue a fully funded PhD to consider this. Because first, if your CV is good, then you can go into the next steps. Like this is the foundation. This is the founding step for a good application to a funded program in Europe. You need to have a good CV. You need to show that, okay, if you have a gap, if you have a study gap, why do you have a study gap? You need to show your experiences. You need to show the projects that you've worked in. So everything is there in this website. You just need to log in, or you'll make an account of Europass, and then you can go systematically. You'll add in your the image, and then you can add in all the details that you have, and it will create a CV for you automatically. So this is the best platform, I think, in which you can form a very good CV. We go to the next slide where so the documentation that you need to apply for any program in Europe. You need to have a valid visa, a valid passport. After that, you should have a passport size photo. I've already talked about the CV. The cover letter or the motivation letter is important. There are some universities where they'll give you a word count. So you have to go for the requirements. What are the requirements of that particular project? If they are saying that, okay, the word count is 1,000, you cannot go beyond 1,000. These small things matter a lot when you are applying for a particular program. So in a motivation letter, what you basically will have to do, maybe if I can get some pointer, or maybe two. Okay. So for a cover letter, you'll basically have to motivate your desire to pursue a PhD in a specific topic. This is the first thing. You will introduce yourself. That will be the first paragraph. After that, you have to relate how your BS or MS work is related to the topic of interest. You have selected a particular topic for a PhD. Now you want to confirm that, okay, this topic relates to me. This topic relates to my work. You'll have to confirm it by your BS or MS work. what are the specifics of your BS or MS that you did, and you think that, okay, this relates to the project which I'm applying for. You'll have to specify that, you'll have to motivate it in your cover letter. As I talked before, you need to have the internship or the work certificates. You need to have the English proficiency certificate. Either the university can provide it for you. The university will say that, okay, the 4 years of the program or the 2 years of the master program in a particular university were taught in English language. That is okay. Some universities will take that as an okay. There are universities will say that, okay, we'll see the proficiency of a person in an interview. Whereas what we recommend is that you should have IELTS and you should aim for a band score of 7.0, a total band score of 7.0 or more. Recommendation letters are important. You need to ask your university professor, your supervisor, or a firm that you're working in to provide you a recommendation letter. So I would expect you to have at least 3 recommendation letters. One can be from a university professor, one can be from your supervisor, and another can be from a firm that you are currently working in or you have been working in. A research proposal is something important that is required for universities in Italy. There are some other universities, for instance, universities in the Netherlands may also require you to submit a research proposal. So what we do is that we'll provide you a template. We'll provide you a certain template of a research proposal that is needed to be submitted to a particular program. You'll have to make it up, like you'll write the proposal. What I can do in response is to read the proposal and see if all that you've written is in flow. And then we can go ahead step by step. I'll talk about this later as well. So these, but in particular, are all the documents that are needed to pursue a fully funded PhD in any part of Europe. The research proposal is for certain countries, but rest assured, you need to have those when you're applying for a particular funded position. Okay, so this is an important question, that which countries in Europe you want to target. I find people, like there are people who contact me and they say that, okay, we need to go for a fully funded in Europe. I would say that, okay, you need to have certain specifics in which part of Europe do you want to focus. Do you want to focus in parts that are Poland, Czech Republic, Slovenia, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria? The issue with Poland will be if you are focusing on a PhD just for financial sake, like there'll be people who are focusing on PhD for different sake. One is that, okay, you are an aspirant who has done the masters and now he wants to target for academia. He wants to become a professor. That way is that, okay, you have done the masters, you will go for a PhD, you will go for a postdoc, then you will have some experience in the university, you will become a professor. For us, majority of the Pakistanis, what we do is that we have done our masters and then we want to go for a PhD because we are also looking for a funding, a means to sustain ourselves financially. So if you say that, okay, I'll go to Poland, the currency in Poland is not euro. The currency in Poland is zloty, and the rates of that currency is quite less in comparison to those in other parts of Europe, which are using the euro currency. So these are little things. But if you want to travel to Europe, and then if you want to travel from one part of Europe to another part, you'll have to consider that, okay, what is the financial mean that you're getting, or what is the benefit that you're getting in a particular country. One of the main countries to focus is Germany. If I can go to the next slide. So Germany has a state-of-art facilities, and it is one of the financial hubs in Europe. The facilities, the research centers that are quite known there are either the Helmholtz Institute, the Fraunhofer Institute, or Max Planck Institute. So for all of these three, they'll be funded PhD positions that are offered on their websites. What you have to do is that basically they'll have a portal, a PhD portal, and we only have to submit the documents. The documents should be upright and they should be corresponding to the PhD position, and then you can just go for the application. Either you apply in the research center, which pay more, or you apply to certain universities that are all around in Germany. The current issue which Pakistani students might face while applying in Germany, if we can you go to the next slide? So the main concern that we have for Pakistani student is the appointment for visa. There are examples in which people have gotten the admissions, but then what remains to be done is the visa appointment. So that takes a lot of time, and that is one thing that you should have in mind when you are focusing on application in Germany. The other option that you can have is the PhD in Italy. So as I was saying before, Italy has a point-based system. You have good documents. You'll have a point for CV. You'll have a point for cover letter. You'll have a point for recommendation letters for research proposals. The issue for now is that majority of the applications in Italy are almost over. The next intake will start from April 2025, and that is subjected to different universities. If you want to know more about the PhD positions in Italy, you can contact our team. One thing that you should be very clear about is that there are two different categories of visa that is offered for a PhD student. One is a work visa, the other is a study visa. Majority part of Europe will offer you a work visa. A work visa means that you get a work visa for a certain country. You are a taxpayer, and after a certain amount of time, you will be able to get the PR, the permanent residency, and then after a specific time, you will be able to get the nationality, whether it's 10 years, 5 years, depending on the country you are going into. Italy, on the other hand, will not offer you a work visa. Italy will offer you a study visa. A study visa means that if you are in Italy for 4 years, you will not be there as a taxpayer. That means that you will not be able to apply for a permanent residency. After doing your PhD, maybe you move to Germany, maybe you move to some other country, and then you have to start this process all over again. Here again, it depends on what you aspire or what's your main target. If your main target is to go in Europe and go for a nationality or a PR, then maybe you have to reconsider your option of Italy. Maybe you can consider some other country where these facilities are easily provided. There are other opportunities as well. Apart from Germany, Italy, students talk a lot about either Germany or Italy, but there are other countries as well. There's Netherlands, for instance, a great country to live in, and also the projects there are like also available. Those are fully funded. For instance, one in management sciences that is currently open in Netherlands. The other option for you can be Switzerland as well. There's an option of Sweden. There's an option of Belgium. There's an option of France. There's Spain. I'll talk in the coming slide. So if we go to the next slide, we'll have an option that is for Spain. So it is a good news for the students that at the moment the Spanish government has offered about more than 1,000 fully funded positions. That is all across Spain. And if you see the topics, these topics like vary from biology related fields to material science to physics to computer science. So there's a lot to focus in Spain as well. And Spain will offer you a work visa for the PhD. Spain will also offer you a good stipend. And the living cost in Spain, in particular, is not too high in comparison to that. If I compare Spain to Germany, the living cost in Spain is not as high as that in Germany or the Netherlands or Belgium or other Scandinavian countries, Norway, Sweden, or Denmark. Okay, so as I was saying before, there are basically two ways to apply. One is that you apply directly at the university portal. That is that we search for a particular position, we check your application requirements and the project deadlines, and we upload those particular documents after going through an intensive review. The second option is to apply by contacting a prospective supervisor. That means that there may be a position in which you are asked to send the documents to a prospective supervisor. They'll send you an email that, okay, these documents should be sent to this particular supervisor. This means that, okay, if you're sending the documents, your email should be top notch. It should not be, hello, sir, or it should not, like what we do as Pakistanis is that with due respect, and then we go ahead, dear doctor, professor, doctor, this. Whereas in Europe, what you can simply do is to refer to a supervisor by his first name. Dear Dr. This, dear Dr. Smith, for instance. I am a master graduate in this. And then you just go ahead with your specifics which you want the professor to know. They don't have much time to read all the cover letter that you're written in your email. The cover letter should be there as a document, not as an email. So the services which we usually provide to students is to aid the students with finding the most appropriate position for you, that is the most appropriate project. We'll do an intensive documentation check. That is, if we have to modify your CV, if we have to modify your cover letter, your motivation letter, and also rechecking the research proposal if need be. We'll contact the prospective supervisor on your behalf, and then we'll be applying. So this is an intensive process, and this is the time-consuming process. So what we require from a student is that if the student wants to avail this opportunity and uptake our services, what we require from the student is his or her hard work and dedication. If we ask you to provide a certain documentation, that should be provided. If you ask you that, okay, we are working on the cover letter, the next deadline is this, you work on this. So it's basically a teamwork. And I require the student to be in that loop, that we work as a team and we can achieve the goal that you are aiming for together. So the team that we work, like in this team, we work as a team. And the main thing is that we want you to achieve your goal. So by this, I'll stop here, and I'll again like to thank the Edvice team for this opportunity, and I'll give the platform back to Abdullah.
Then thank you, Dr. Arun Nawaz, for giving your insights into the funded programs in the Europe. So I will be talking about the UK once again. So there's a major question which concerns among people that that why should they go to the UK for higher education? This is something which is pretty important. So I'm going to be telling you about these things so that you have an idea as well. So the first thing is the culture diversity. Okay, so in the UK, the people who live in the UK majority are those who are from different cultures. So what's the benefit of this? So there are many international students as well who end up going to the UK and end up living there as well. So, as you go as an international student along with studies, there's also one thing which student need to keep into consideration, which is dealing with people from diverse cultures. So, as you get in touch with people from different cultures, you learn about them. Being an international student, this makes your interpersonal skills better as well. And getting to know different culture does not mean that you will lose touch with your own. Additionally, you can also maintain strong ties with your own culture as well as getting to know about different cultures as well. So this is a plus point which I would say international students who go to the UK, they benefit. The second thing is shorter duration for bachelor's and master's. Okay, so like suppose if a student goes to, I would say the USA or Australia or Canada even for bachelor's. Bachelor's normally is for 4 years in other places. But in the UK, if a student wants to pursue bachelor's, it's for 3 years instead. So it's something, which saves them a year as well as the cost. And if I talk about the masters as well, so normally for master program in different countries, it starts from 16 months to up to 24 months or 2 years. But in the UK, if a student wants to pursue masters, it's for 1 year only. So at the same time, just like for bachelors, it saves a person money, cost, as well as time as well. The other thing which is, I would say, a unique selling point for UK is the placement year option. I would say majority of many people are not aware of this, what is a placement year and what's the benefit of this. So if I just tell you briefly about the placement year, a placement year, I would say it's an option which is offered by many universities, which is part of their certain degree programs. If a student is doing bachelor's, then he can do a bachelor for 3 years, and in his last year, the student can do a placement year. So a placement year is basically in this the university has facilitates their students through its network of recruitment partners, which makes it easier for the student to find relevant job opportunities as well. So this placement year is basically something which it can be a paid turned to a paid full-time job as well. So during the placement year, students gain practical hands-on experience, they learn professional skills, they apply their academic knowledge in the real world setting, and at the same time, they get paid as well, which is the most important thing. The students get paid up to, I would say, £20,000 per annum, students who end up doing the placement year. So it's also a plus point, if you perform a placement year in a good way, which is if you add key value to the business, there's a chance that you might get an offer from the placement year opportunity as well, which is that even before you graduate, you might end up getting a job. So there are some famous placement year opportunities, which includes Jaguar, Airbus, Deloitte, KPMG, Rolls-Royce, as well as there are many other companies which offer placement year opportunities. So this is a pretty plus thing, which if a student pursues bachelor's or master's in the UK, they can avail this opportunity as well. The other thing is the visa success rate. So if I talk about other countries, apart from the other countries, UK has a pretty good success rate. Students who have applied through us, who are willing to go to the UK either for masters or for bachelors, they have a 100% visa success rate till now. And the last one more plus point for who wants to pursue higher education in the UK, which is that if a student wants to do research programs, I would say something related to MPhil or PhD, they can bring their dependents along as well. So this is something which a student who is going to the UK, he can avail. Yeah, Amar, could you go to the next slide? So there are some famous universities which students who either going for bachelor's or master's, they can go to King's College London, Queen's Mary University, University of Glasgow, Exeter, Birmingham, Middlesex. These are some universities which I would say generally Pakistanis as well, they prefer going to, and something which is well known worldwide as well. So the next question is, after you're done, that why should I go to the UK? The next question is choosing how should you choose a university in the UK. So there are some factors which one as a student should take into consideration, which is considered pretty important as well. I would say rather doing your homework, just to explain it in an easier way. So the first thing is the check the course ranking and the QS ranking. So what is this? So basically the Times Higher Education and the QS ranking, it's basically a ranking or a student just to get a sense of how the universities are performing globally, or I would say within a specific subject. Like suppose if a student wants to perform engineering or wants to do engineering from a certain university, what's going to be the QS ranking or worldwide ranking of this? So these ranking, if a student goes through these ranking before he shortlists the universities, he will get a sense of whatever institution he's going to, if it's something which is reputable or if it's something which he or she should consider as well. So there are certain factors which are taken into consideration for this 2S ranking. One is the student feedback, how many students are there per class, the student feedback on the teaching, the teachers, the environment of the university, how much has the university invested on your department. The most important thing, which is how many percentage of students got a job after they graduated. So these are certain factors which are taken into consideration while one is looking into QS ranking, and one should as well. The second thing is to check the distance to major cities and international airports. So basically, whenever an international student is going to the UK, he should consider distance to major cities and major universities. So this is something which is not just for accessibility, but also just to make sure that wherever the student is going, the area has good, better opportunities as well as a better infrastructure as well. So like if the city is within a good location of one of the UK major cities, it would have deliberately a better transport, better facilities. It could be a better hub for the student as well, a better job market as well. Like just give you an example, like London, Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds. These are some considered major UK cities, but Coventry and Leeds, and there are many cities which are nearby as well. So these are something which a student should take into consideration just to just make sure that he is going on now. Okay, so the third thing, okay, so the documents required. So there are certain documents which are important as well while applying. The first thing is a transcript. The student should have an education transcript from grade 9 onwards. His passport copy, which is pretty important. His statement of purpose or purpose statement. His CV should be there. He should have his references or his recommendation letters. It's preferred if he has up to 2 recommendation letters, which is required by the university as well. So there's also an English requirement which is required by the university, which is either student gives IELTS, any other English proficiency test, which includes TOEFL, IBT, home edition, anything as well. As for this thing, there's this MOI or the media for instruction certificate. There are many universities which give you an IELTS exemption if you have an MOI itself. But I would say IELTS is something which should be considered, but depending on the university, where the student is applying and where the university student is currently studying, he could be exempted from an IELTS as well, depending on the MOI which he gets. Work detail is something which is going to be optional for bachelors, but as for masters, it's something which is going to be beneficial, as the better work details or the better work placement which he has, there are better chances he can get enrolled. Certificates is something on the other which is a plus point as well, which needs to be taken into consideration as well. So these are some important documents which should be considered while you're applying as an international student. Okay, so what is a foundation here? So basically, just like I told you earlier as well, normally if a student wants to do bachelor's, it's a 3 years degree. But like suppose if if a student doesn't meet the criteria, or like suppose he doesn't get the English requirement which is required, the student is going to be opting for the foundation. So it's basically a foundation is a 1 year foundation and then a 3 years bachelor's. So like suppose if, let me give you an example, like suppose if a student wanted to get 70% in his high school in order to get into the university for bachelor's. And if suppose the student get a lower percentage as compared to the which was required. So the student in this case would be opting for a foundation degree, which the university optifies if he doesn't meet the criteria, or if he doesn't get the English language requirement as well. So like suppose if the IELTS requirement for a bachelor's degree is 6.0 with no less than 5.5. And suppose if the student gets an IELTS score of 5.5 with no less than 5.0. So in this case, the student can opt for the foundation, but in case of this English, the student can give a pre-session English test as well, which includes from 3 weeks to 6 weeks up to 10 weeks as well, where the student can take the English classes and then he can get enrolled. So this is the benefit of a foundation year in which the student, he would be graduate to a bachelor's degree, which is a 1+3 basically. So there's a difference between an integrated foundation versus an international foundation program. So an integrated foundation, which is what I previously talked about, is basically an access to a bachelor's program for the student. So it's only in this case if the student is completely certified that he wants to do the 4 years from the UK, which includes a 1 year foundation and then the 3 years bachelor's, which makes up his bachelor's degree. But on the other hand, there's also this thing which is the International Foundation Program. So the International Foundation Program, it's I would say it's a standalone foundation certificate in which upon completion you have the option, which is a 1 year program. After you're done with this 1 year foundation, you have 4 options which you can opt for. Either you can come back to your home country, the first thing. The second thing is you can do bachelor's from some other country. The third thing is either you can do bachelor's from the same university where you have done your international foundation program, or you can do your bachelor from some other university as well. So if you're completely sure that you know that you want to do your bachelor's degree from the UK itself, then I would say the integrated foundation is ideal for you. But if you're not sure that if you should go to the UK or some other country, then the international foundation program is something which would be ideal for you as well. So just like I told you, so even in this case, which is the foundation, so you are issued a visa for 3 years. But on the other hand, for the international foundation program, it's a 1 year visa which is satisfied. So yeah. So let's talk about the bachelor's degrees in the UK. So just like I told you, normally in the UK, the bachelor's degree is for 3 years. So the total number of credit hours is, I would say, which added up to 360 credit hours. So the fees, I would say, if a student wants to pursue bachelor's from the UK, it starts from, I would say, 9 to 10,000 pounds to up to higher, depending on the university which the student wants to go to. If the student wants to go to the research group, which include Queensway area, King's College, some other research group, the fees is as much higher. But if a student wants to go to some middle tier university, then the fees, I would say, some pretty much average. And once a student completes his bachelor's, then the student gets his post-work study visa, which is for up to 2 years. So now let's come to the master's. So just like I told you, for the bachelor's degree, if a student doesn't meet the criteria, he can opt for the foundation. So in the same case, there's a pre-master's option which the student can opt for in case he doesn't meet the criteria or meets a low requirement. So the duration for the pre-master is basically 1 to 2 semesters, which depends on the grades which the student got. If a student wants to do masters in the UK, normally the masters is for 1 to 2 years depending. Like there are two different masters programs which the student wants to opt for, which is masters taught or research. If a student opts for the taught program, so the student can do either a 1 year program or a 2 year. If a student wants to do a 2 year program, then even in this case, there's going to be a placement year which can be included, which is he does the masters for the first year, and in the second year he can avail the placement year opportunity. And as for the second one, which is the research masters, which includes a PhDs or MPhil, these can take up to 3 to up to 5 to up to 6 years. So these are some study requirements which needs to be taken into consideration. This is a pretty generic, but obviously it varies from university to university. So just to give you an overview about the requirements which the universities in the UK ask for bachelor's and master's. So just to give you an overview, like suppose if a student who has completed his HSC and he got a 60%, so he can opt for the bachelor's program as well. If a student who has done a BA, a 2 year degree, and he wants to opt for the bachelor's, he can opt for that as well. But depending on the student grades which he got, he can either opt for the 1+3, which is the foundation plus the bachelor's, or a separate 3 years program depending on the grades which the student got. There are many students who either do ICOM or ISC or FSC or even FA. Even these students can opt for a bachelor's degree, which is by doing the foundation first, if they got a 55%, which is 1 year plus 3 years. So there's a pretty much misconception of students, they think they can't go to the UK right after their high school or HSC, but student, they can go to that as well. So now let's come to the master requirement. So so even in this case, like suppose if a student does a 2 years bachelor's and he does a master's as well, and if he has a GPA of I would say 2.6, or if I talk about the Pakistani percentage, it's 55%, he can opt for the master's program as well. In the same case, if there is a student who has done a 4-year bachelor's degree and has gotten a GPA of 2.6 or 55%, he can opt for the master's program as well. And there are certain students who do a maybe 3 years bachelor's program and a plus 1 year's master, they can opt for this master's program as well. So as for the PhD, I'm just going to give you an overview. Mr. Amar is going to be talking about this in detail. So if a student wants to opt for research-based, there are some research proposal which is required as well. It's preferred, I would say, if a student has a good GPA, but this varies from university to university. So I would,
Yeah,
so I think
yeah,
from now,
yeah, thank you, Abdullah, for explaining everything so clearly. It was quite informative. Yeah, so in terms of the PhD, that's what I will be talking about. In terms of the PhD in the UK, for Pakistani students, you must have completed a master's degree, which equates to 18 years of education from the Pakistani board. So if you've done your education in Pakistan, you would normally need to have a 4 years bachelor's. The master's in Pakistan is 2 years, and then your 12 years of education, so high school and then college. So that equates to around 18 years. You would need to have that before we apply for your PhD. With that, you also need to apply, obviously have a research proposal. Each university will have a specific template that they will post on their website, which will contain the number of words you need to have, what you need to include in the proposal, and the flow of the proposal that you need to follow. Now, even if you have that, that's not enough. You also need to apply some of the interests and areas of areas of topic that the supervisor that you're focusing on is interested in, or they've done similar projects on. For example, if a supervisor is interested in, if a supervisor in the past has worked on minority groups and you are focusing on that supervisor, it's highly advisable that you, when you write your proposal, you add some aspects of that as well, and you show that you are also inspired by that. So you and the supervisor can relate on a professional level, and they will pay much more attention to your proposal in that manner. So for PhD, unlike a bachelor's where a gap is not accepted, even for masters, if you have a gap, you will need to show that why you have that gap, or what is, if you have a gap, then you would need to, for masters, it's usually you have to show some professional experience. But for PhD, even a gap, some universities are also accepting a gap up to 10 years. This is because they understand that after masters, you are of a certain age, you've matured enough, and you have certain responsibilities. So that gap is more acceptable in a PhD. Now, even if it's accepted, it doesn't mean that you can just after your masters you've not done anything productive or haven't have made any impact. That will not be accepted. You would need to show some other area of productive that some other area that you've been productive in. Yeah, so that is for the entry requirements for a PhD. Now, just to give you an overview before we talk about the popular courses, PhD usually in the UK is about 3 to 4 years. Now, what would you do within a PhD? I think that is what's very important. Within a PhD, you would be researching on a specific project that you have proposed within your proposal. So if you have proposed a project, whatever project that you propose and it's been approved by the supervisor is their job to make sure that you are achieving those milestones, you are working towards those, and it's your job to make sure that you are actually staying in contact with the supervisor and keeping them in loop of whatever that you're doing. So that's a bit about what a PhD really is. Now, there are obviously many programs. There are more than 10,000 programs in the UK for PhD, but popular ones based on affordability and career prospects. These are the ones that are, some of the more affordable ones. So there's DOE, there's DBA, there's international business. The international business is not a PhD, but it's a master's by research. It follows a very similar route. You again have a proposal that needs to be approved, and within the 2 years of your master's program, you would need to be working towards your proposals. You need to make sure that by the end of the 2 years, you have achieved all the milestones and the mini activities within the projects. They have been materialized, and they have been, if it's a coding project that you're working on, it has been published on the relevant open source platform, and so on. So that is some of the things that you need to work on in PhD, and Masters by Research follows a very similar route. Okay, I think that we've had a bit of a slide merge. This is something I think I will give it back to Abdullah, and he can discuss this. Abdullah, are you there? Yeah, I think you would have a much more standpoint on main scholarships such as Chevening, etc.
Okay, so there are three main scholarships which takes place if the student wants to go to the UK. So let's start with the Chevening Scholarship. So Chevening Scholarship is something which takes place for master's students who want to pursue masters. They can aim for the Chevening Scholarship. The Chevening Scholarship is currently something which is still open as well. So we have a counselor by the name of Ma'am Aisha Ahmed who deals with the Chevening Scholarship. So it's something, but the condition meeting this is that the student, after they're done with the Chevening, they have to come back to Pakistan. So these are some things which needs to be taken into consideration if a student wants to aim for a Chevening Scholarship. It's a basically government-sponsored scholarship, but the condition being that if you get the scholarship, you have to come back to your home countries. So there are some partial scholarships and major scholarships as well, which includes a grade scholarship as well as the Commonwealth scholarships, which students who want to go for masters, they can aim for these scholarships as well.
Yeah, and I think for Chevening, you need to have 2 years of work experience in a course relevant field. And yeah, the rest I think Abdullah did explain. Yeah, so coming back to the PhD, there are two routes that you can take. So if you have a master's degree and you have a good GPA, which is 3.0 and above, it's likely that you will be accepted into the PhD direct program. If you have a lower GPA or you have a master's of 1 year, so you have 17 years of education, then you will have to consider an MPhil. MPhil is somewhat like an access to PhD, but it's also a standalone degree. So if you go for an MPhil and you decide not to pursue a PhD, you will still get an MPhil degree, which is equivalent to a postgraduate research degree. Both the MPhil and the PhD are eligible for a 3 years postgraduate visa. So as compared to a postgraduate taught or an undergraduate program where you would get a 2 years PSW, for an MPhil or a PhD, which are considered a postgraduate research program, you are eligible for a 3 years PSW. So this is something the government recently announced. So it used to be 2 years for either research or taught, but they recently changed this for PhD candidates. Now, who is an MPhil for? We already explained that. And so an MPhil is usually 2 years or 3 years in length. Usually it's 2 years. So if you decide to go for the MPhil route, your PhD will be approximately 5 to 6 years in total length, which includes the time you spend towards an MPhil degree. And by the end, you will get a PhD degree. Now, some popular PhD universities for engineering include the University of Birmingham, University of Glasgow, who are offering who are actually offering an engineering management PhD, which is is ranked quite above. Queen's Mary, Lancaster, University of Kent, and Newcastle University. Newcastle is also is one of the top universities as well. The kinds of services you receive in our self-financed UK PhD, as compared to what Owen discussed earlier, which was the fully funded PhD in Europe side, that requires a different approach, and a UK PhD degree, which is usually self-funded for international students, that follows a completely different route. There are many similarities, but the kind of preparation that we have to do is a bit different from that you have to do in the Europe side. So in terms of the services, we would make sure that you find the right supervisor that matches your area of interest, and we make sure that they are onboarded with your idea. That is through interpersonal connection. As Owen mentioned earlier, you have to speak to them in a specific way, you have to email them in a specific way, and you have to have that two-way conversation. It cannot be just, it cannot just be you mentioning what's your area of interest and not identifying that you have studied their past projects and you have showed what are you interested in and what inspired you about their projects, about their profile that made you want to approach them as compared to other supervisors in the similar area, in the similar research area. So that is one thing that you do need to consider. And that's something we also help you with. We mentor you in that area as well. Choosing the best opportunity. So obviously there are many PhD opportunities in the UK. Unlike undergraduate and postgraduate, PhDs are subject to approval. So first the management would approve some projects, and then the projects that are approved, they would then have a set start date and a set end date. And that's how we know which project we can aim for within that window. So we would help you find the best PhD opportunity based on when you want to start, what's your area of interest, what kind of university tier are you looking at, and and what kind of supervisors would interest you, because each university has supervisors that have done. Obviously, they've all done tremendous things, but they have different supervisors who've done projects on different areas. So we need to identify the one that matches your interest the most. Offering a research proposal template. So that's something. These are some of the resources that we offer, which include a specific template that has worked in the past and that the university would require. And it meets all the requirements for the project that we are working towards. And we would also provide you other resources, which includes interview insights, so some questions and answers of past students who have achieved success, and a general question and answer template that you would the thought process that goes behind when the supervisor asks you a question, and the thought process that should go behind when you should answer that question. So we would provide you with those resources there. We would review and edit your proposal, make sure it's up to par. We would then complete the application form. So each university opens the PhD application form either on their portal or find a PhD website, based on if it's self-funded, if it's fully funded, or how the university wants to display that project. Now, we would apply and submit the application form on your behalf. But again, as Owen said, we work as a team, so we always have our students in the loop of everything, and we expect the students to be proactive when we ask them for things such as documents and things such as we need to make a call to you to explain things before an interview. We expect you to be ready, be available, and be committed. And then we would, as you would know, PhD always requires an admissions interview, which happens before the CAS process can move forward, before you get an offer. So for the interview phase, we would help you prepare for the interview, and we would also conduct a mock interview to discuss what went well, what can go better, and how you can basically make sure when you do go for the official interview, you have the right knowledge and you are explaining things in the right way, and you're not saying things you shouldn't. Usually, an admissions interview for a PhD is a supervisor just wants to know what they've seen on a proposal, what they've seen you as on the digital platforms such as email, what have they communicated to, if they're speaking to a person of that caliber as well, or someone who is well presentable on a face to face, or is someone who's well presentable. And then for IELTS, we would offer you resources and tips that would help you prepare for IELTS and take the exam. For UK, PhD is very different. Some universities would accept you on a 6 total bands with 5.5 as minimum, whilst others would expect 7.0 and above. Russell Group universities usually want an at least 6.5 to 7. It's usually 6.5, while some universities such as Southampton, Birmingham would require a 7 or above. Then comes the CAS process. We would assist you throughout that. And the visa application, as you know, PhD is eligible for dependents. So if you have immediate children, if you have immediate spouse, that you can prove through legal documents that they are related to you in the same manner, and it's all legit, then you are eligible to, they are eligible to come with you to the UK. And there is a specific process that you have to go through, which is applying for their visa as dependents, included in your student visa. Now, you can apply for them with your visa, so you can apply for them at the same time as you. You guys can apply for at the same time, and once it's approved, you guys can fly together, or you can apply for your visa first as a student and apply for their visa later on. But you would first need to mention that these are your dependents. So whenever they want to fly to the UK, they would apply for a visa, and the government would automatically know that this person had mentioned these dependents in their file, and now he's applying for their visa to come and join them. Then it's obviously booking accommodation, which we would help you with. We partner with accommodations providers, and we also help you find university managed accommodation based on your interest. Usually, university managed accommodation is for students who are looking for to join communities, to join societies, and to interact with university students and network with them, build friendships. Whilst private accommodations are if you're looking for something which is a bit more affordable, a bit more even university accommodations are affordable, but if you're looking for something even more affordable, then we have private accommodation option. Or if you are looking for something which is like an apartment or a house to yourself, then as well you can go for private accommodations, and we can help you with that as well. And then airport pickup is something we offer. So obviously, once you do reach the UK, you if it's the first time you're coming, even going to any country abroad, or even UK has a different scenario. And if you're going to the UK, then we make sure that you are welcomed in a very homely manner, and you are taken to your accommodation. You have all the resources that you need, and any questions, you have our direct line. So any concerns or anything, we help you there as well. I think Abdullah did mention this earlier. Bachelor's is usually £10,000 and onwards. Master's is £9,000 and onwards, and PhD is £7,000 and onwards. So that is it for the presentation today, the webinar. And I would thank Owen and Abdullah for giving their insights into the specific topics that they were speaking on. And yeah, I hope it really helped. So yeah, one thing I did also want to say is if you guys, anyone is interested in any of the programs, so that is Europe fully funded, UK bachelor's and master's, or PhD programs, you can contact our team. You would have the number in the chat section, or you would have our email in the chat section. You can contact us and we'll be glad to assist you. So you can find the number and the email in the chat section.
Okay, Ji, thank you so much. So there's an out from your side.
Sorry, so I couldn't hear you.
Okay, so that was all from your side, or you want to add something else?
No, that's it. Thanks. Thank you. So
Oh, okay, Ji, okay, Ji. Thank you so much for joining us today. The recording of this webinar will be shared on our YouTube channel, which is Dr. K.S. Academy. And the certificates for the participants will be shared through your email. Okay, Amar or Dr. Awad, I have a question related to the statement of purpose. So can you answer that?
yes, definitely.
Yeah, thanks for
Okay.
the question. A statement. Yeah, can you hear me?
Gigi, I can hear.
Okay. A statement of purpose is just like your motivation letter or your cover letter. So basically, a statement of purpose has some more word count, I'll say. You have to explain yourself a bit more. In a statement of purpose, maybe you will add in some details about the project, and you'll also add in details about how the project links to your MS or your BS profile. So I'll say that the personal statement is basically an extended version of a cover letter or a motivation letter. Does
Okay,
that answer your question?
is there any specific format for statement of purpose? Because most of universities actually provide their format, or they have some requirements for the statement of purpose. But most of universities don't provide the requirements of the format for statement of purpose. So how do we will manage this? So what is there any general template or any general format for the statement of purpose?
Yeah, there are two things. One is that if the university has provided a template, then we'll have to go with the template. If we go with another template, they'll just cancel out the points for that particular document. For the second case, if they have not given a template, like if they have said that okay, we need a statement purpose for this particular topic, the main criteria or the journal template is that you'll go with the introduction. After the introduction, you'll introduce your bachelor's, your master's, like your education. While introducing the education, it's good to relate your education to the project that you are going to apply in. After that, when you have mentioned that, you'll mention the projects, you'll mention your publications, any research projects, internship, work experience that you have gained. This is the second paragraph. When the second paragraph is complete, then you'll go into extracurricular. That okay, I've done my education. This is my experience in education. Other than education, I've also been doing this, and this. Maybe you were the head of some society in your country, in your university, or stuff like that. So that means that okay, you have the multi in a sense, a different cultural experience. You will have some background of that, and that relates well to your profile. At the end, maybe you can also tell about your English proficiency, if you have any IELTS certificate or anything like that. And then at the end, you go for a conclusion. So this in particular is a journal template of a motivation letter, statement of purpose, or a cover letter. But if a university has said that, okay, this is the template and the word count is 1,000 words, then we'll have to go with that.
Okay, thank you. Very well explained. I have another question related to the graduate assistantship. So can you discuss something about that?
The graduate assistant positions, you mean, after the masters?
After the master, no, when we are pursuing the masters, so there are some graduate assistantship positions which the universities actually offer, which can give us some funds for the students. So
Yeah, this is a good question, because currently in the domain of material science, in the domain of chemical engineering, and also related biomaterials and and stuff, NUST had offered a position, and the deadline is I think it's by the end of September. So they had offered a similar position of a research assistant or a research graduate, how may you call it. That position is that, okay, they have a certain collaboration with another professor from NTNU, that is in Norway, the Norwegian university. They have collaboration with that professor, and what a graduate assistant will do is that he'll work 5 months in Norway. He'll be a master student in Pakistan, maybe a student still studying in NUST, and then he'll go for 5 months to a particular university that is in Norway, and that is a very prestigious university, the Norwegian University of Science and Technology. So he'll be doing conductive research for 5 months there. So this is another way, like, to have some exposure of Europe. If you're doing a master's in Pakistan, sometimes there comes these positions like this one. That is a novel position. Like, I usually don't see NUST offering these type of position that you go abroad and you do a 5 months internship and stuff. If you can find this is very good for the profile. And then pursuing a PhD like this becomes, I'll say this becomes a lot more easier for a person who has this sort of experience. Like, he has done the masters in Pakistan, but he also has like 5 to 6 months of experience of abroad. This is a very good thing for pursuing a PhD in the future. And probably you can, if you search it, we can find other positions as well in which there are similar type of things. Like, you are doing a master's and then you have an opportunity of pursuing an internship abroad.
okay, Ji, thank you so much, Dr. Awan, and thank you so much to all the Edvice team.